Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time around we started The Green Death. What was that one about?
There's some coal mining going on in the southwestern part of the United Kingdom. It wasn't Wales, was it?
It might have been Wales.
Might have been Wales? All right. Somewhere in the coal mining region down there. And there's some big, multinational corporation thing that says that they've got a procedure that allows them to cut pollution by 25%, something like that. But there have been some mysterious deaths that apparently nobody can account for. And there's this group of protesters, basically, led by Dr. Jones who basically says that, no, it's increasing pollution, they're just hiding it. And so Joe initially goes first. The doctor went off to Metabelus 3 to get some kind of, look like a blue cylinder of some kind. But when he comes back, they realize that the people who have died have all died from this mysterious thing that we originally thought was maybe a fungus, because Dr. Jones was a mycologist. I think that's it. He's a mushroom guy. But it turns out it's a virus of some kind. And did Joe catch it? Or am I thinking about the Planet of the Daleks?
Yeah, that's Planet of the Daleks.
Okay. Anyway, so Joe and one of the miners are caught down in the shaft, but they find a way to escape. The doctor manages to catch up to Joe, but Bert, the guy, has already died. But that's when they see these giant larvae of some kind. They look to be like,
maggots.
That's what it was. That's, some kind of slugs. And apparently the virus is causing them to mutate into giants. Did I get all of that? Is that everything?
I don't remember if there was something about giants, about them mutating like that. But I mean, they're maggots of abnormal size. Which is the name of my next garage band, actually.
That's like rodents of unusual size, Rouse.
Yeah.
So we now have mouse.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, and there was also at the global, whatever they were called, chemicals.
Yes,
global chemicals.
Oh, and that's right. They have a...
Yeah, they've got some sort of computer boss thing.
And we're still not sure whether the computer is actually the boss or if there's an actual person behind that, because we've only seen the computer so far.
That's true. And we've got people being conditioned and stuff like that, but not very well.
Yeah.
So, the whole thing as well is that Joe is starting to realize that she may be finished with her travels with the Doctor and may stick around with Professor Jones.
She started that in the last serial with Planet of the Daleks, saying that she wanted to go home.
Right. So, these are the last 3 episodes of The Green Death, as well as the last 3 episodes of Season 10.
Wow.
So, and actually someone said that Episode 3 of Planet of the Daleks is the halfway point of classic Doctor Who in terms of episodes. So, even though we're still in the third Doctor's run, we're over the halfway point by this point. So
that's mostly because didn't Hartnell and Troughton go 48, 52 weeks a year?
Yeah, they were year
now
round.
They're only 26.
Right. And even though we still have, after this, 4 more Doctors, not including the 8th Doctor's movie, we still have 4 more Doctors. I know the next one is ridiculously long, but after that I think we're going to start churning through Doctors left and right. So as the series sort of not stops, but just sort of peters out until it's canceled.
In Classic Who, wasn't there one Doctor who only had 1 season?
Not quite. I think Colin Baker only had 2, which is still pretty short.
Yeah. But let's say at 24, 25 episodes, 48, if we usually do 3 or 4, I mean, we could get through that in about 4 months. We could get through an entire Doctor in about 4 months.
Yeah, probably. Though I imagine... I don't know how long it'll take us to get through Tom Baker, but I think it's going to be a while, because he goes for, I think, 7 seasons about. So yeah, it'll be a while, and we still have, I think, at least 1 more season of the third Doctor as well. So
yeah, because if this if he doesn't regenerate in part 6 of this, then we got at least another partial season of him.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't regenerate today.
Yeah.
So, but let's find out as we move on into the last 3 parts of the Green Death.
Inchworm. I can't remember the rest of that poem.
Good job.
At least we can analyze this slime.
Unit is here.
Blow it up! What they did to the Silurians.
Oh, it's good to see Benton again.
Doctor, may I introduce you to Mr. Yates?
How do you do?
Wait, are Mr. Yates?
How do you do?
Why is he not in uniform?
That's a great question. Maybe he's undercover.
Fire!
Well, if they didn't destroy a real factory, that's great model work.
The day is coming fast. D-Day, the attack. Nothing must be allowed to stop it.
Why didn't you tell me?
Didn't give you much of a chance, did you?
But what's the idea?
Well, I'm not such a dunderhead as you all seem to think. I don't like this fellow Stevens any more than you do.
Well, then why did you blow up the mine?
Orders, Doctor, orders. I'm still a soldier, you know. But that doesn't stop me having an inside man to have a shufty round.
Okay.
Well, I take your
That's
point,
good.
Brigadier.
Sir? I thought it best to back it up a bit, being as you said they could jump.
You know, it's a good thing you don't have to salute again if they don't see you
I
salute.
was going to say,
Giant maggots? What kind of insects are they going to turn into?
That's a very good question, Joe.
I was gonna say, you could try for a bullet. You know what? Get some better aim.
Look! Thick chitinous plates protecting the whole body surface. It's armor-plated.
All right, we'll try A people. Let's give them 10 rounds rapid.
chitinous.
Nuh. You know what? Go get the flamethrowers.
Oh, the old milk truck.
I was gonna say, it'd be hilarious if Bessie had an invisible mode.
Oh, the poor boy was taken very sick. Something he ate, his ma'am said.
Who are you?
Me, I'm his dad. I mean, they told me I was too old to take over, they did, but I've been doing this milk round, 53 years, wet or fine, didn't I? Oh, and there's life in the old dog yet. I was only saying to Rosie up at the Red Dragon.
That was a great disguise. Oh.
Say one word.
I like your handbag.
Do you? Well, watch out I don't slosh you with it. Right, where can we talk?
In my office.
Oh, come on.
This got really goofy.
How's that man, Doris?
Oh, lovely.
Well, that worked out.
The Doctor in drag.
Prequel to Mrs. Doubtfire.
I've just been onto the RAF. They'll be flying a low-level strike with HE grenades in just 7 minutes.
Oh, that'll work.
In 10 minutes' time, of
course, Joe's out there.
Alive in that whole area.
Yeah. You know, has the RAF ever been useful on this show? I don't think they have.
Well, the problem is they don't get all the information. They're not aware of all the shenanigans going on.
I guess that's true. It's never the RAF's fault.
Yeah, that's true.
I am the boss. I'm all around you.
It's Hydra.
Exactly. I am the computer.
It just is a computer. You know, it doesn't look that advanced. You know, it's just... It looks like in spoilers for the Winter Soldier, I suppose, if you haven't seen that, despite the fact that it's probably like 8 years old at this point. But in Winter Soldier, when they find Zola, and it's just, yes, a long time ago, I downloaded my mind onto reams and reams of electrical tape, and it's like, whoa, okay then. That's a lot. So it's just a computer. That's a bit odd.
But we've seen that same thing, I mean, aside from the Great Intelligence, which in the second version was contained in the computers, but that's also, what was the name of the computer that was running the war machines? Do you remember that?
7 seasons ago. I'm not sure. But yeah, it was something specific, but I don't remember. I do love the disguises in this one. Now, the second disguise, the cleaning lady, it falls apart if you look at him, obviously.
But that's the thing. Because the cleaning personnel are so far below everybody else, nobody gives them a second glance.
Right. Well, you say that, but he's also like 2 feet taller than the normal cleaning lady, so you might want to think about that too. But the milkman, that was a brilliant disguise. Like, nobody's gonna look at him and think that's the doctor. So yeah, those were at least good.
Yeah, his cleaning lady was very similar to what they were doing on Monty Python about this time.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see what the plan is, like, for the boss and everything. Like, what's the evil plan here? Because we've mainly been focusing on the maggots, which are honestly just a byproduct of everything. Like, it doesn't seem like the boss or Global Chemicals want to use the maggots. They just are.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe at the end, all the maggots just eat the Global Chemicals building, like an episode of SpongeBob or something.
Well, the other thing is, the doctor or somebody mentioned that these are, again, the larval stage, so they're going to grow into something else. We just haven't figured out what they are yet.
Yeah, Joe brought up, what insect will they turn into? So, and I'm trying to think, like, okay, what is, like, the natural predator, I guess, of maggots? And I'm not really sure. Maybe people can correct me if you're more zoology experts. But could you just use birds? I feel like birds would probably... That's a contender for eating them.
But the birds in England are not going to be able to pick up a 3 or 4 foot long maggot.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have any huge birds of prey that I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be some falcons and things like that, but...
You would need genetically mutated birds to eat these genetically mutated maggots. So
that gets into the whole lady who swallowed the spider and then has to keep swallowing larger and larger things to get that. By the way, you once mentioned that you thought the opening had a very Darth Vader-ish look to it.
Yeah.
Does that, where you caught it right there, not look like Ferengi ears?
Yeah, it does, with the curl over and the long thing. Yeah, it does kind of look like that. Shapes are fun.
Yeah.
I also just thought, because we mentioned you need really big birds to take out these maggots. He has the thing from Metebelis 3, and it could just be a throwaway thing of, oh, he got this thing, but Joe's not interested because she's gonna move on. It would be hilarious if he used that to summon alien birds and kill the maggots and then he can send them back. I don't think that's going to happen, but that could be something that happens. So I don't know, but yeah, I'm very interested in what the plan is. They mentioned D-Day basically for this company, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're just getting, like, it just seemed to be like, well, they're just a company, they're getting, better petrol and stuff, but they're creating more waste, and that's creating the maggots. Yeah. But there is some sort of an evil plan here.
Yeah, and we have literally seen, as far as we know, we haven't seen anything of it.
Yeah.
The one clue there, though, is that the boss also called it Der Tag, which would be German. So, let's assume that there may be some kind of German thing behind this, or maybe some kind of, they are global after all. I'm going to say some kind of international plot to control the oil market.
Maybe. Yeah.
What are you then?
I am the first bimorphic organizational systems supervisor.
Boss.
I am the only computer ever to be linked to a human brain.
Stevens?
Yes, Stevens. And I learned from him that the secret of human creativity is inefficiency. A human brain.
Yes, infuriating, isn't it?
I programmed Stevens to program me to be inefficient. I am the boss.
Fail and perfect more of the world, eh?
How well you understand me.
So it's like a reverse of Skynet.
Efficiency, productivity, and profit for global chemicals, of course. Nothing and nobody can be allowed to stand in the way of that.
Shouldn't that be no one?
You
Inefficient grammar there, boss.
No. So it's just make the company look good.
If I were to tell you that the next thing I say will be true, but that the last thing I said was a lie, would you believe me?
The matter is not relevant.
Check!
However, it can be worked out. Yes.
Gone.
Just casually break the computer.
It cannot be answered. But I will work it out. I shall work it out. I
They
must.
get play tic-tac-toe against itself.
And mate.
No.
You're nothing but a machine after all.
I mean, it says it's infallible, but it said it's made to be inefficient as well.
Well, that seems to have done the trick.
I'm afraid not, sir. Look over there.
Is
to
that
the
green
right.
screened? Look how... I mean, it's very good if it is.
Yeah,
Our
they
beats
are.
in trouble, doesn't it, sir?
Yes.
It is
Yeah, you
no
can just
use
faintly
begging
see
for
on
mercy.
an outline. That's weird.
What's best for global chemicals is best for the world.
What's good for General Motors is good for America.
Brainwashing.
You could have ducked below that.
Yes, the old milk co-op.
Feel bad for the rest of the people not getting milk today. Oh, that poor milk. Well, I guess there's no use crying over it.
Bum-bum.
At least the creatures seem to be staying around the slag heap.
I expect they want to stay near home, sir. Like close to their breeding ground.
Why did they green screen this? I'm so curious now.
There, it's to move on. Yes, Benson, you go with the doctor. I'll alert toll wheel.
Right, sir.
Yeah, that's odd because they're obviously there, but then they had to green screen some of this stuff.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, now that's very obvious.
Yeah. I also love the tiny model they had.
Can you...
Right?
Maybe some of the ground wasn't stable enough to film on. Like, here's a better patch than the road coming up.
Joe, are you okay?
Sergeant.
You see the ground shift under him?
Yeah.
That was...
Maybe they're puppets of some sort. I'm very fascinated by the production of this episode.
I'm sure somebody in the comments who has a book on it will tell us.
Yeah.
Watch it. Look deep into the blue light. So, you see, Brigadier? My trip to Metabelis 3 wasn't wasted after all. Oh, good grief. Wake up, Lethbridge Stewart.
Just can't depend on anyone. Can you, Mr. Yates?
Oh, the stuff is upside down again. It's really weird. Anyway, you know, he had a gun. And if there's anyone who could shoot anyone, it's probably Captain Mike Yates. So,
It's been a while since we've seen a stinger that wasn't on the Doctor or Joe, isn't it?
maybe. Yeah, probably. Well, okay, so I'm probably wrong that he's going to use the crystal to summon giant alien birds to dispense of the giant mutated maggots. But he did use the crystal in another way.
Now, to me, again, just based on, having been a writer, it seems to me that somehow or other they may try to plug the crystal into the computer to wipe it out.
Maybe.
I mean, that would be the logical thing. They've set up the crystal now very, very heavily in this end of this storyline. So that's just a guess.
Alternatively, if the Brigadier has any explosives left, just blow up all the cores, and there you go. And I also thought the only thing is there may not actually be anything too special about the crystal itself. I mean, obviously, the way the light refracts off of it, works for clearing the mind and stuff. But it's honestly something that especially the first Doctor would do with dehypnotizing someone. So yeah, I don't know. It could be any of those, really.
It also seems kind of odd that he's never done this before, considering how much the Master used to hypnotize people.
Yeah, that's a good point. That should be like his go-to thing.
Yeah.
And I guess there must be a difference then between hypnosis and the conditioning specifically.
Yeah.
But it seems like whatever he's doing is a specific hypnosis thing to get rid of the conditioning. I don't know. I don't know if there's what the science is behind any of this, so.
At 4 o'clock this afternoon, the computer is going to...
At 4 o'clock, Skynet will launch the nukes.
Can't depend on anyone.
Mushroom loaf.
Do you think they just have, like, cheese? Like, make a grilled cheese.
Grilled mushroom and cheese.
Not just cheese. And a little butter, but mainly cheese.
Not a husk like the other one, but a complete dead maggot.
Well, I find the live one's more worrying, Doctor.
Don't you understand, Brigadier? What killed it?
Could it have been something it ate?
That's it. The fungus.
Ah.
How much of this fungus have you got?
A whole pile of it in the outhouse.
Show me quickly.
Right.
A bit. You could say, like, the shed or something.
I wonder if the outhouse means the same thing there as it does here.
I'm gonna bet no.
Probably means it's now building, but...
Well.
Now again, went straight from on location to that.
Yeah.
Hello, Doctor. Hello, Doctor. It's working.
It'd be hilarious if as soon as they eat it, they just swell up and then explode.
Doctor, it's working. I say again, it's working. They're dying like maggots. We've licked them.
Well, I hope you haven't licked them.
Nancy, he's getting worse.
I'm also curious how they make the glow on that. That looks really good.
Post-production, I think.
Maybe.
The doctor will be back soon. Even he doesn't know what to do, does he? Shh. It's all right.
I mean,
Right, you just figured out that it was the fungus, the mushroom. Give him some mushroom.
yeah.
You have escaped us once.
Force feed.
Believe me, it won't happen
Or
again.
just put it on his neck.
Bring him along.
Now, he's a soldier.
Yeah.
He should be able to whip these rent-a-cops.
I hope he doesn't die in this.
Sector 4, report. Over.
Vehicle now approaching last group of creatures. All others destroyed. Over.
Kitty, come on.
Gurgling hiss.
Ugh.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Dragonfly.
They fly now.
Doctor. Look out above you.
Alright, I'm infinitely curious why there's a hand on the side of his car. Ah!
What a beautiful creature.
Cloak beats bug.
You.
As Oscar Wilde so brilliantly said, to lose one prisoner may be accounted a misfortune. To lose two smacks of
It's
carelessness.
actually to lose one parent. That's from The Importance of Being Earnest.
But they can't harm us now, my little Superman. It's too late.
We're going ahead then.
Well, naturally. Report.
I just want... Well, they can't harm us now. Just a hail of bombs from the RAF.
Phase 1 countdown completed. We're falling behind time.
Stevens, you know, we should have arranged for the symphony orchestra to herald my triumph. To take over the world, to sweep into power.
This is the goofiest computer.
Alien sound. You like that idea, of course.
Please.
Wagner is also German nationalism.
It is only a matter of minutes.
Minutes before the moment of truth sails towards us on time's winged chariots. I love a really juicy mixed metaphors. I'm cross-feeding the generator circuitry. In 2 minutes, the whole place will go up, and so will the others.
He's gonna cross the streams.
Going to reverse the polarity. What a world! What a world! Now that's model work.
Well,
You want to go?
More than anything else in the world.
I see. When?
Very soon now. We just stop off in Cardiff, pick up our supplies, get married, and...
Married?
All right.
Look, will you excuse me? I do think I'm going to be wanted on the telephone.
You didn't say anything about getting married.
you can't just add that to the list of things to do.
Sorry, love.
Come on, Mike. Let's have a drink.
He always ends the story with "Let's have a drink."
Good on to your uncle at United Nations.
It's only the second time I've ever asked you for anything. Don't get too far away, will you? And if you do, come back and see us sometimes.
Your wedding present.
It's beautiful. Thank you, Doctor.
Hey, Joe. Come and drink a toast to the happy couple, huh?
But that's us.
Aye, so it is.
Great sheepdog there.
Alrighty.
Well, that was very nice.
Well, a good send-off for Joe.
Much more so than most of the others.
Yep. I mean, the last time we left a companion was Liz, and that was off screen, so... Alrighty. Well, that's the end of Season 10. Wow. 10 down, only 16 more to go.
And yet there's more in those 10 than in the remaining 16.
Pretty much, yeah. So... Alrighty. Well, to go ahead and hop in the notes, let's see. We had Yates being our inside man, which was very clever, actually.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming. And, I almost wonder, with Yates and Benton in this one, like, I could almost see, like, maybe not having them again. Like, maybe they sort of go off as well. Although... there's no reason for the Doctor not to go back to UNIT.
Yeah.
And just park the TARDIS, and that's where he gets a new companion. In fact, I think that might just be how it ends up. But yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. I mean, I guess just giving Yates something to do, more than just the normal, well, he goes out and follows orders and stuff. So that was interesting. Let's see. Again, we did have the disguises in whatever episode that was, episode 4 or 5, which was very, very clever. I kind of want to see a bit more of that, There's almost a part of me that thinks John Pertwee may actually do the comedic side of the Doctor a bit better than Patrick Troughton. You know, like I almost think like with Troughton, it's because it's very intentional. He is the sort of, you know, lighthearted Doctor, to where it's almost funnier when the third Doctor does it.
I'll tell you this: I had kind of an interesting thought because of John Pertwee's height and his, you know, looks and everything, and seeing him do both the serious and the comedic stuff and the disguises. I thought back in the 70s he would have made an interesting Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I could see that. Which, I mean, I feel like any actor who plays the Doctor is probably suited for Sherlock Holmes. Like,
well, that's the thing. You know, when Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law did that, you know, steampunk version.
Yeah,
I like the fact that they took the essence of Sherlock Holmes and you know, punked it up a little bit. But physically speaking, no. I mean, if you're a Sherlock purist like I am, he has to be a very tall, very thin man. He's got a hawk nose, you know, receding hairline. I mean, there's an entire physicality to that, which, although Benedict Cumberbatch was, again, a much younger version, I could see that he would grow into the classic Sherlock Holmes from Conan Doyle. So, you know, that's why I look at this, and he would be the right age at that time to play Holmes. Now, again, the only time that I ever did a Sherlock Holmes, when I was in it was Curse of the Sign of Four, which is like their second adventure together. So I played a very young Dr. Watson. But the guy who played Sherlock Holmes, again, very tall, very thin, had the hawk nose, receding hairline, and he looked very much like you would expect Holmes to look like if he were in his late 20s or early 30s.
yeah.
So again, that was just I can see possibly a younger Hartnell doing a Sherlock Holmes. Troughton just physically doesn't make it for me.
Yeah.
You know, he's just so. I mean, he would make a Dr. Watson.
Yeah.
You know, put a mustache on him and a tweed suit and a bowler hat. He would make a better Watson than he would a Holmes.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
I completely forgot too that Watson has a mustache like that too.
Yeah.
I'm so used to Sherlock, the show, where they only give him the mustache for comedic effect. So, or in the one episode where it actually was back in sort of the 1800s, and they had the very comedic, you know, sort of Snidely Whiplash mustache on him. But yeah. Now, I also want to say that this is going to be difficult to try to remember, but was there an episode with the first Doctor we had a sort of outlandish disguise on? I can't remember. Because there were other times where William Hartnell would play a different character. You know, there was like the Abbot or whatever. But I can't remember if there was one where he, you know... I want to say he had a costume and he had a funny accent and stuff trying to get into somewhere, but I can't remember.
I remember they had to dress up in Roman costumes when they went back to Nero's time.
Right.
But I don't specifically remember anything.
Yeah. Maybe I'm thinking of Indiana Jones, where when they go to the one place, I guess...
The castle, yeah.
Yeah, in Temple of Doom.
Pretends he's a Scot.
Right. Maybe, I don't know why I'm confusing Harrison Ford with William Hartnell, but maybe it's that. I don't know. But I could also, again, see John Pertwee doing something like that, where we need to get into this place, and he puts on some sort of accent or something. So yeah, that was good and fun. All right, so we've got Boss, who, this is maybe one of the dumbest things ever, but it's still good, is that he's a computer who programmed a guy to program him to be less efficient and more human, to make sort of these illogical choices for a computer in order to do the most logical thing for his programming, which is make global chemicals better. And by doing that, he connects up to 7 other computers around the world.
Yeah.
I don't fully understand that. Like, I get the whole thing of, okay, his primary objective is to make global chemicals better, make sure, you know, pretty much supremacy and everything, which is very much, you know, we'll do it at any cost, basically. Very Skynet HAL 9000 sort of thing. Like, this is what we gotta do. But I don't understand why it would help to be more human about that, Like, I don't understand, and also just the fact that he specifically had Stevens program him to be like this. So he wasn't like this originally.
No.
He was just a normal computer, basically, or a normal supercomputer. But why would a computer want to be like that? Now, I know there's stuff like, Data, or even, we just watched on Legends of Tomorrow, Gideon kind of did that too. Yeah. But it just seems like a strange choice for his primary objective.
But again, that's the whole idea of the AI trying to figure out, I guess, beyond, was it Asimov's 3 laws of robotics? The only way for a computer to be able to succeed is to realize that sometimes the logical choice isn't the logical choice, and that you must be more like the humans. You have to have intuition. You have to have, courage and bravery, stupidity, all these other, anger, all the emotions, because that sometimes helps you figure out the best way forward. Now but as bizarre as that sounds, I really enjoyed this computer much more than I enjoyed, even the Great Intelligence, because this one had a way of saying, look, I understand that I'm not perfect, but I think by not being perfect, that will allow me to understand imperfect humans. Rather than just eliminate all of them, which is an imperfect solution, I need to be more like them, because that way I can either control them or I can be more efficient in the way I operate. Yes, it's convoluted. It's like a snake eating its own tail.
Yeah.
But I like the way that they set it up. And congratulations to, was it Robert Sloman?
Yeah.
The writer. That's a brilliant concept.
Yeah. But he's also infallible. That was the other part where it's like, I need to be imperfect. I need to be human. But then he's also... Well, I guess that's the most human part, is he thinks he's right.
He thinks he's right. He thinks he's infallible, and he's not.
I guess that's true. So...
but yes, I again don't know if Gene Roddenberry or any of the guys who did Next Generation were fans of Doctor Who. But yes, that's the whole Data thing.
Yeah.
Where here is an android who understands that he's just a machine, but he wants to become as human as possible. It's literally the Pinocchio trying to become the real boy.
Right. Which I like on the Orville, when they have... their sort of android Isaac, where he's there because he's trying to learn about humans, he's trying to understand them, and and all their imperfections and stuff, but he never really wants to be that. He always, and there's always this thing where he's always saying, he's superior and everything, his race is superior, there is a bit of development for him over the course of those first 2 seasons, but at the same time, I kind of like that as well, where it's like, it's not just the Data route of, I want to become more human. It's, no, I want to understand you. I don't want to be you, though. So that's kind of interesting. And you kind of, go the more Data route with this one. And so I get all of that. But then it's not just that he becomes human, but he becomes goofy as well. That's sort of the other thing where it's like, all right, this is kind of weird, man. It's like, you're on the clock, man. You gotta keep to your schedule, So, but still, it was very good.
Yeah. But, just the fact that that he understood that there's a soundtrack, that plays this, we don't even have time for, Beethoven or Wagner or somebody who can be the soundtrack of our triumphal moment here. That's incredibly human.
Yeah.
Yes, and you're right. It's goofy as hell. But it's very human. And again, I enjoyed finally seeing the boss not being just another, soulless supercomputer, bent on world domination and world destruction if necessary.
It separates him from the Cybermen or the Daleks, which we just had recently. Yeah. So, it's that he is sort of illogical, but he still has, that computer drive to achieve his goal for global chemicals. Which is interesting. And again, all of this, it's interesting how they sort of mix, honestly, 2 stories, which, again, last episode we made the comparisons to Inferno with, all these strange, creatures that are infecting people and stuff like that, and you've got the boss who doesn't really care and stuff. But where that one sort of had the two stories of, all right, here's everything that's happening at this plant, also a whole other parallel reality, which is odd. It worked, but it was still odd. Whereas here you had everything that's going on with global chemicals and everything with the maggots, but the maggots don't actually play into what is going on with global chemicals. They really are just a sort of side thing.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
never like, the boss is never like, well, I'll, now that we've created these, giant super maggots and stuff like that, and they're starting to evolve, maybe what will help global chemicals is we take over these giant dragonfly things. It's never anything like that. It really just is, no, that's just happening in the background.
Yeah.
But they also don't, the boss doesn't have a solution for it either. He thinks, well, the RAF, they'll take him out, and that just doesn't work at all. He doesn't think about what eventually becomes the cure, which is the fungus and stuff. Yeah. So I kind of like that it balances, even though these two stories almost have nothing to do with each other. Yeah. Obviously, it's that global chemicals causes these maggots to mutate and stuff, but it doesn't really work into the finale all that much.
No. Other than it is only because of the bugs and the virus that the Doctor and Joe come there in the first place. So I mean, it's one of those things where your major storyline is only brought to the Doctor's attention through this minor malfunction.
Yeah, because even if it was just, well, they're polluting the grounds and stuff like that, sure, that might have brought Joe there, but would that bring the Doctor there?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was all interesting stuff. Let's see. We had the Doctor overcoming another brainwashing attempt. I like that just every time where they try to do a mind probe or the brainwashing or anything, he just sits there and nothing happens to him, just at all. And I guess, I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to think of, like, examples in modern Doctor Who, but I don't know, it's just, like, it's interesting, especially, I guess, this season, just how much they do that, where it's like, wow, we'll use our technology on you, and it just doesn't work. It just does not work whatsoever, so... and then we had the people being hypnotized and him using the crystal. So yes, I was wrong that he did not summon giant birds to take out the giant maggots. But the crystal was useful for something, at least.
Yes.
So
now he never said why he went to Metabilis 3 in the first place. Now, if he went to get the crystal, he never said, I went to get this crystal because it has certain properties. I mean, that whole setup at the very beginning, back in episode 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes back and it's finally the cure of the conditioning in 5 and 6, but there was never any specific reason why he went to Metabilis 3 in the first place.
I mean, I think the reason is because they were trying to get there in Carnival of Monsters, but they ended up inside that machine. I think it was just, well, I've tried going there, and I keep missing the planet. I'm finally going to just go there and see what's there. And he was hoping that Jo would go with him, but she didn't. So he was just like, all right, I don't need you guys. I'll just go to Metabilis 3 on my own. Then he went there. It sucked, but he found the crystal and he was like, well, at least I have some consolation. And then that just... I don't think it was any specific reason other than it was just somewhere to go.
Now, this, again, being a writer, although I've never actually written a sequel or anything, if they talked about this in Carnival of Monsters, then he goes there now. That leads me to believe that somewhere in the future we're going to see another story about Metabilis 3.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, again, they've now put that into two different, not episodes, but serials.
Yeah.
So that will be a very large red herring if nothing else is ever done with it.
Yeah, I could see something like, well, he goes to it at a different time, and maybe the planet's a lot calmer and stuff. Maybe there's a civilization or something. But I don't know. I think it might just be that they reference it, just sort of an offhanded remark in Carnival of Monsters, and then it's like, well, now we need the Doctor to sort of be separated from Joe for a little bit, so that he comes back to Earth and realizes he still needs a companion.
Yeah,
and they just went with that name. So I don't know. It could come back, but who knows? Let's see. They mention everything with the slaves and the slave elite that they were going to create, but that didn't play too much of a part, other than I guess that's just, we'll take over the humans, get rid of their freedom and stuff for global chemicals, because it's still, at the end of the day, no matter how human Boss is, he's still doing that primary objective in his programming to help global chemicals and everything. So, what's good for global chemicals is good for the world. So
again, that's back in I can't remember if it was the 30s or the 50s, but the head of General Motors once said, "What is good for GM is good for America." So whatever the government can do to help General Motors become the greatest automobile company will ultimately benefit the United States.
How'd that work out?
Almost didn't.
Yeah, so but yeah, so I guess we never get a full elite slave, so it's just kind of interesting that they bring it up, but I guess it's just that's what the conditioning is. They become the sort of, I guess, basic slaves, and they were going to make more had the Boss connected to the other 7 computers. Yeah. So let's see here. But then we did save Stevens from everything by using the crystal.
But he didn't get out, did he?
No, I mean, we rescued his mind, and then he sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
Although I still wonder, when he comes in after Yates saves Mr. James, Yates has the crystal, and he also has a gun.
Yeah.
You could have, even if you don't shoot him, you hold him at gunpoint, and then you cure him, and then there you go. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know why Yates didn't think of that. But they at least saved him at the last second, and he sacrificed himself to destroy Boss. Which honestly, I guess he sacrificed himself, because I'm not sure what happened. There was a whole sort of crazy light show going on, but nothing exploded. Yeah. So,
but he was in the building when it went up.
Oh, that's right. The building exploded.
Yeah.
That's true.
The Doctor came out and rescued the gate guard.
Right.
But then the building exploded, so Stevens had to have been still inside.
Yeah. I wonder what happened to the original Milkman. Because all it is just they cut, and then, the Doctor is in disguise. So it's like, well, did he knock out the other guy? And it's like, well, if he knocked out the other guy, that's probably where he got the uniform. Where did he get the comedically large glasses and the mustache?
Oh, I'm sure they have those in a kit somewhere at Unit.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
Now that's one of those things where you ask too many questions and the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah, that's true.
I always used to tell my actors, especially in a farce, that you cannot give the audience time to think about anything that goes on in the farce, because if you give them even 2 or 3 seconds to think about it, the whole thing will implode. So you just have to keep going. So if we sit here, and again, we're looking at this 3 episodes in one afternoon, but
right.
Some kid sitting there watching this 50 years ago was not going to be thinking, now where did the Doctor get the comedically large glasses and the silly mustache?
Yeah.
They just would have gone, oh, brilliant disguise. He's disguised himself as the Milkman, and would have never thought about it again.
Yeah, well, it's also the thing of the different mindset of how you watch stuff. Obviously a lot of people can watch stuff casually, but then there's also the more critical thinking while you're watching and stuff. And when you do a reaction, you're definitely doing a lot more of that. You're paying attention to every little thing because you have to. Specifically, that if you don't do that, then why are we here? Yeah. So I mean, that's also the thing when I watch movies. There is a difference when I watch some movies I was thinking about the John Wick movies recently. We only watched the first two because the second one got pretty complicated. And I thought, well, okay, well, maybe... I was kind of curious, like, maybe I should watch the second movie again, but really try to pay attention. Like, it's not something you can watch casually. It's the same thing with, like... The Witcher is a great example. You really have to focus and pay attention to that. And even still, I sometimes get a little lost with that. Yeah. So, yeah, the normal person in 1973 probably not thinking too hard about a Doctor Who episode. So, yeah. Let's see. And then, yeah, I guess the last thing I wrote down is Joe leaving with Cliff Jones and getting married specifically. Like that was an interesting thing to sort of throw in at the end there. I was like, oh, and we'll get married too. And it's like, well, okay, slow your roll, man. Like, I mean, yeah, I get going to the Amazon is probably a great commitment, but like, slow it down a little bit, you know. But yeah, and it's also interesting watching when she says, you know, don't go too far and, you know, check back in and stuff. And obviously, sort of from that last scene where the Doctor just sort of quietly slips away, it does seem more of, well, he's gonna go because that's when the sort of alien side comes back into play. He doesn't stick around for the parties and stuff like that. He goes away. And it's interesting because they do reference that in the Sarah Jane Adventures when Joe comes back, and they say that, yeah, she has not seen the Doctor pretty much since this episode. So there's only one moment where the Doctor says the last time he regenerated, when the 10th Doctor regenerated, just before that, he delayed it long enough to go and check on all of his companions. But that's pretty much the only time he saw Joe before that episode, basically. So yeah. Interesting stuff, and Joe will be missed, because Joe may be one of my favorite companions that we've had.
Well, she certainly grew into her role.
Yes, definitely, over these 3 seasons. And honestly, probably, I mean, I think, you know, we talk about that Jamie's probably the longest running companion, but Joe's got to be up there, probably top 3, I would imagine. And it is interesting that sort of favorite, you know, kind of best companions or best companions that work with their doctors are kind of the ones you would least suspect. Like, all right, Jamie, let's have this, you know, kid from the Highlands, you know, and he's coming in into the future stuff, but he really worked, especially with the second Doctor. And Joe's sort of the same way, where it's like, well, she's not a scientist, she's not barely even a soldier, you know, maybe she had the most basic training from UNIT, but still, like, those two kind of work the best, you know, which is interesting. So,
but, you know, I've always said, and this is just my personal favorites, the original idea was still the best. You got 2 teachers who are going along with the Doctor. That is perfect, because they know literally a little bit about everything, and considering that it was originally meant as partially an educational program, that was a great idea. And I like the fact that, you know, Jamie was just an adventurer. I mean, he was a young boy trying to be a soldier, and he grew into the role, and she was, you know, basically just a secretary, you know, dog's body, I think they once called her, but she grew into the role. But considering where Ian and Barbara started and when they left, I still, in my opinion, they were still the best so far.
Yeah.
My personal opinion.
And they'll never do that again. So, well, and I mean, they don't even do a team anymore, really. Like, you can say, well, you've got the Brigadier and Benton and Yates, but they never go off, you know, in the TARDIS with the Doctor. It's really just Joe, and I don't know how much... I don't know if we'll ever have, like, a team, really, again. And even, like, in modern Doctor Who, the most will be, like, 2 companions, but it's not until the 13th Doctor that she does take 3 companions. So, but even then, as you saw in that episode that we watched, you know, it's like, well, yeah, she has 3 companions. She has the old man, who's good, but, you know, he's just an old man. His grandson, we're still trying to figure out what he did, what he contributed to the team. And then Yaz, who is a cop, but boy, did they forget she's a cop. So, useful companions. I think that's sort of a one and done with Ian and Barbara. I don't know if they're ever going to really do that again. Well, if I remember, I think the fourth Doctor takes on Harry Sullivan. I think he was actually a doctor as well, so that's at least something. So, but we'll have to see where we're going next time.
All right,
as we get into
season
11.
11. Wow.
Yeah. So, presumably the last season for Jon Pertwee, because
this will be his 5th.
Yes. And by the time of season 12, I'm pretty sure Tom Baker has taken over. So yeah. But yeah, you got anything else?
I got nothing.
Then we will be back next week for whatever the next episode is called. I have no idea. So, with all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around to any of those. There's a playlist for all of our classic Doctor Who reactions, as well as another Doctor Who related playlist you can go click on, as well as a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, and other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.